All right. Hello and welcome. I'd like to thank you so much for being here this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you may be. Thank you for joining in. For those of you that don't know, my name is Mr. Sam. I am the director of Young Scholars Academy, which is an online enrichment center that seeks to help neurodivergent and differently wired students, specifically twice exceptional. Today, the focus of our conversation is going to be helping twice exceptional students more successfully socialize in the back to school season, right? One of the concerns a lot of my parents seem to be having lately is, how is my student going to fare after 18 months of deliberate isolation, right? We went out of our way to isolate our children. And there's, of course, a lot of growing pains that come with going back to in-person socializing. Not to mention, a lot of our twice exceptional and neurodivergent students already struggle with socializing. So there can be some compounding effects. I'm going to share a couple talking points with you today. We're going to go through 5 of them. And then at the very end, I have a great little resource that I'll kick out to you in the chat. So go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you're excited to be here. Feel free to leave questions and comments in the chat. I'll do my best to monitor that as I go. And I look forward to connecting with you. So let's go ahead and dive in. Number 1, I want to encourage you, and this one may be difficult, let go of what you think socializing is. Now, again, the last 18 months have been very different than anything that we've ever experienced. And your child most probably adapted. They probably met their social needs different ways. Not to mention the fact that there's a generational gap, right, between you and your child. So I would encourage you to let go of what socializing looks like to you and ask your child instead, how do you connect? Get them involved in the process. How do you connect with peers? Where might you go to connect with peers? And their answer may be Discord or Twitch or something very different from your thought of going to a restaurant or to the gymnasium or whatever it may be. So let go of what you think gymnasium, of what you think socializing should look like, and encourage your student to tell you what they think it does look like. Number 2, and this is a key one that's so in line with Young Scholars Academy and everything that we believe. Allow and encourage your student to start with strengths. A lot of the times when we want our students to do something, we also want it done a certain way. Get your student to think and talk and express what it is that excites them and where other people that are excited about the same thing hang out. So what is it that gets them vibrating, gets them energetic and fills them up? And then where are other like-minded people hanging out? And by the way, this doesn't have to be rhetorical. If you'd like to comment in the chat, or if you're thinking already we're on point number 2 and I know someone that ought to be here, comment them in the chat, give them a shout in the chat and tell them that they really should be here. So starting with strengths and leading with strengths, support your student in connecting with other like-minded people around their passion areas. So important, especially in the absence of school, but this can be done more so in school. An example of this might be encouraging your student to see if there are clubs that exist around their passion area, or if there are not, are there ways in which they might create a fan club or whatever it may be? So encourage them to find like-minded peers around their interests. Number 3, reflect on that Covet growth. Now, I know what you're thinking. Your student probably had a really hard time. What are you talking about, Covet growth? Well, there is no doubt that COVID required our students, ourselves, to socialize differently. But also probably granted us some time and some space to develop different passions, interests, and habits and routines. Some you may see as genuine growth, others you may see perhaps as a decline or a retracement. But sit with your student and inventory some of the ways in which they grew or developed differently during COVID and how they may bring that into the new social sphere, going back to school, back to in-person learning. And I want to put a little caveat in for this one. This can be a very delicate situation, right? Your student may have gone away for 18 months, been home and changed, and then may go back to school and have others expect her or him to be the same. It's so important that we spend some time with our kiddos and explain that they've grown, others will have grown, and it may be slightly challenging to go back to school this year, that they may experience others around them differently than they remember. And that could be for a combination of reasons. Okay, so I would encourage you to try your very best to get out in front of that one. Okay, people have changed, you have changed. Don't expect the exact same, right? And I always use the example of when you graduate from college and then you go back to your hometown. If you do, you're not the same person, right? And we can kind of allow our students to see that in sort of a microcosm. They might be able to relate a little bit. Number 4, and this is a really important one for your students that are perhaps a little bit more concrete. If you have a sequential concrete thinker, and by the way, you can give me a shout in the chat if you do, if you're like, yes, he's talking about my child or my client. Those students often do well with frameworks, formulas, and rules, right? So I've prescribed to what I think is a fantastic little framework for making small talk and socializing, right? And this is a combination of 2 things. I'm going to go into the next one after, but I use the acronym IFR. Okay, inquire, follow up, and relate. So if you can encourage your student to keep this acronym close to heart, what it does is it kind of gives them scaffolds to converse while also putting 2/3 of the conversation on other people, right? So they first inquire, question about the person that isn't too personal. They then ask an interesting and engaged follow-up question. And then finally, they can relate. Oh, interesting, you said that. I actually do that. Or that's something that I'm really excited about. Or yeah, isn't that so lame? Whatever it may be. Okay. So if they can inquire, follow up, and relate, it puts 2/3 of the conversation on other people. And anyone that's ever read the iconic, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, we know that people love people that express a genuine interest in them, right? If someone's inquiring and following up about my interests, I'm probably interested in them. And then if they can relate, we can develop some commonalities that can be hugely valuable. Okay, so get those concrete thinkers. Try IFR, inquire, follow up, and relate. And then I want to go over to my 5th tip, which is going to be simply becoming active listeners. Encourage your students to really focus on listening. And I know we say this all the time, listen up, or I need you to listen. Are you paying attention? A lot of the times our 2E kids don't look like they are, but odds are they probably are in fact listening. Encourage your students to become active listeners so that they can better engage with others and express genuine curiosity, and genuine meaningful relationships can be blossoming out of that inquisitive mind. So I'm going to go back through our tips quickly, and then feel free if you have any questions, anyone, if there's anything that we can discuss, I'd be happy to do so. Number 1, let go of what you think socializing is, okay? We're older, kids are younger, and the world has changed, all right? So try to let go. One of my favorite socializing pop-ups that happened during COVID was young students getting together and watching Netflix on their own devices at home. So that's not what I would think of socializing, but that's socializing. Number 2, lead with the strengths. Encourage your student to pursue their passions and cultivate relationships around their passions. Number 3, reflect on the COVID growth and decline and prepare your student that the world has changed, they have changed, and their peers will have changed. So they should expect some slight change. And if that's challenging for them, perhaps scaffold it, get out in front of it a little bit before going back to school this year. Okay. Number 4, try to IFR, encourage your student to inquire, follow up, and relate, right? And then number 5, encourage those inquisitive minds to develop a genuine curiosity and excitement to learn about other people. All right, so those are my 5 tips for today to help your bright, twice exceptional kiddos better socialize this year. If you have any questions or thoughts or concerns that you'd like to bring up in the chat, and by the way, hi Lori, thanks for chatting. Please go ahead and ask me now. I'm happy to stick around. If you're watching this later on the replay and you'd like to leave a comment after you've seen the video, please comment and I will leave you a comment back. Okay. Now I am going to put in the chat here as a bonus, I have a video which can be found on the Young Scholars Academy resources tab. It's called 3 tips, and we talked about one of them, 3 proven tips to help twice exceptional students socialize. So there's a little short video that I will link to right here. It's on the Young Scholars Academy resource tab. Someone asked, what was the name of that book? I'm referring to Dale Carnegie's 1936 classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Of course, it is slightly dated, right? It's almost a century old. And it does have with it the century-old gender stereotypes and so forth. However, it has been seen as sort of this timeless piece in how to socialize and connect. I should also mention as a caveat, it was created largely to help men sort of climb the corporate ladder. But it does make for good reflection and great conversation. And there are a lot of timeless gems in there. Okay. All right, well, I've just posted that link in there. Go ahead and check that video out. And again, if you're looking for a way for your twice exceptional students to connect with other students, because let's face it, all of the research shows that our twice exceptional students need one another, right? The 2E kids do the very best when they're with their own, when they are in their own tribe, so to speak. So I would encourage you, head on over to youngscholarsacademy.org. That same link can be used, and look at our course offerings this fall. Courses go live in 10 days, and today is the very last day to sign up and get free bonus access to our executive functioning skills seminar. Okay, so if you sign up for any of the courses on our course page, then your student is automatically enrolled to go to our free executive function skill development seminar. Okay, and the courses include twice exceptional AP psychology, twice exceptional AP government and politics, cryptocurrency investors, speech and debate level 1 and level 2, young and thriving senior edition, which is a course to help high school seniors that are neurodivergent prepare for life after high school. And of course, one of my most favorite is Young Historians, the stuff your history teacher doesn't want you to know, which is an alternate history class. So go ahead and jump in. By the way, hi, Chris, I saw your wave. Go ahead and jump in, head on over to youngscholarsacademy.org. I hope that these tips have been valuable for you in learning about ways you might support your twice exceptional learners socialize. Know that there's no silver bullet. This stuff takes practice and time, but it's so important that we encourage our learners to become the sort of metacognitive reflectors that spend time looking back at the last 18 months, unpacking the ways in which they've changed, the ways in which the world has changed, and then harnessing the powers and the growth that they've made, putting their arm around some of the decline perhaps, and move forward. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the final session for the summer for our Facebook Lives, but I've been asked by a couple parents to keep it going, so I may be doing a lunch series during the school year. You guys are all amazing. Please shoot me an email at Young Scholars Academy LA, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Take care. Keep thriving.